The first Thanksgiving they made me eat in the garage, my nephew asked if I was being punished. Kid couldn't have been older than 8. He stood there holding a dinner roll in both hands while cold November air drifted through the half-open garage door behind me. "You in trouble, Uncle Dean?" And honestly, that hurt more than the garage itself. Because children notice truth before adults teach them how to ignore it. I remember forcing a smile and saying, "Nah, buddy. Just helping watch the food." There was no food in the garage. Just me. Plastic folding chair. Paper plate balanced on a paint-stained workbench beside old extension cords and boxes marked Christmas lights. Inside the house, my family laughed over football and wine glasses while I ate turkey beside a lawn mower. Yeah. That didn't sit right. But by then, humiliation had already become tradition. See, my older brother Grayson had spent most of our adult lives carefully reframing me as the struggling one. Not openly cruel. He was too polished for that. No, Grayson specialized in social positioning. Tiny comments. "Well, Dean's figuring things out. Different people mature at different speeds. Not everybody's built for pressure." Stuff that sounds harmless until you hear it for 10 years straight. Meanwhile, Grayson ran our late grandfather's real estate company and acted like inheriting confidence counted as achievement. The whole family revolved around him because money creates gravity in weak households. And me? I was the disappointment who left the company after Grandpa died. At least that's the version everybody preferred. Truth was messier. 3 weeks after Grandpa's funeral, Grayson quietly pushed me out using restructuring concerns and a stack of legal language designed to sound unavoidable. I signed the exit paperwork because at the time I was exhausted from grief and too emotionally numb to fight. Big mistake. For a while I actually believed maybe Grayson was right about me. That's the dangerous thing about prolonged disrespect. Eventually it starts renting space inside your own thoughts. After leaving the company, I spent 2 rough years bouncing between consulting jobs while trying to rebuild financially. Small apartment. Old truck. Cheap suits that fit badly no matter how often I adjusted them. Family gatherings became performance art after that. Grayson hosting elaborate dinners in Grandpa's old lake house. My mother praising his leadership. My sister-in-law Tessa discussing European vacations while subtly asking whether I'd considered going back to school. I'm 38. Apparently adulthood resets if your income drops enough. The only person who treated me normally was my grandfather's former banker, Eleanor Pike. Sharp woman. Mid-60s. Elegant in a terrifying sort of way. Grandpa trusted her more than most relatives, which honestly should have told me everything. We started having coffee occasionally after she reached out to check in. One afternoon she asked quietly, "Do you know why your grandfather kept duplicate property ledgers?" I frowned. No. That was it. Just HM. But her expression lingered with me. See, Grandpa Callahan wasn't sentimental. Man documented everything. Every loan. Every handshake agreement. Every land acquisition dating back 40 years. And according to Grayson, Grandpa had transferred controlling authority solely to him before dying because he was best equipped to protect the company. Funny wording. Protect. People always hide greed behind protective language. The garage Thanksgiving happened 6 months after that coffee with Eleanor. Apparently Tessa decided seating was tight inside. Amazing how square footage shrinks selectively. I sat out there quietly while hearing muffled laughter through the kitchen wall. Then Grayson stepped into the garage holding whiskey and fake concern. "You okay out here?" Guy actually asked it smiling. I looked at him for a second. "You know there's room inside." His smile tightened slightly. "Don't make today awkward, Dean." There it was. The family commandment. Absorb disrespect quietly so comfortable people stay comfortable. I just nodded like, sure, whatever. Because by then I'd started noticing things. Little inconsistencies in company records Grayson accidentally mentioned. Property sales that didn't align with Grandpa's original expansion plans. And most importantly, Eleanor suddenly asking very specific questions about inheritance transfer dates. That's when I knew, this was gonna get messy. Still, I waited. Patience again. Grayson's biggest weakness wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. Men like him stop checking foundations once people start applauding the building. Over the next year I quietly worked with Eleanor reviewing archived property documents Grandpa stored in a private bank lockbox nobody in the family apparently knew existed. Turns out Grandpa had created conditional ownership structures tied to operational ethics clauses. Yeah. The man basically built legal tripwires into his own estate. And Grayson walked straight over every single one. Unauthorized asset transfers. Improper leverage against family land holdings. Questionable refinancing tactics. All hidden beneath polished presentations and expensive dinners. The triggering mistake happened at another Thanksgiving. Of course it did. Some families only reveal themselves around carved turkey. This time Grayson invited regional investors to the lake house for some hybrid holiday business networking disaster. Tessa practically floated around the room introducing people to the future of Callahan Holdings. Meanwhile I was back near the kitchen helping staff carry trays because apparently once a family labels you unsuccessful, manual labor becomes your permanent personality trait. Then one investor asked casually, so which brother handles acquisitions? Grayson answered before I could breathe. I handle strategy. Dean mostly struggled with accountability. Couple polite laughs. There it was again. Public humiliation disguised as humor. And honestly, I think he believed it by then. That's the scary part about arrogance. Eventually it edits memory. I looked toward Eleanor across the dining room. Tiny nod. Game over. About 20 minutes later the front door opened. County Sheriff. Bank legal representative. 2 auditors. Nobody panics faster than wealthy people seeing paperwork arrive unexpectedly. The room went silent immediately. Grayson stood first. Can I help you? The sheriff answered calmly. We're here regarding disputed ownership filings and emergency injunction authorization tied to Callahan Holdings. Tessa physically stopped smiling. Beautiful thing to witness. The bank representative opened a folder and said, Mr. Callahan, multiple properties appear to have been leveraged in violation of conditional inheritance provisions established by Arthur Callahan. Silence hit hard. Real silence. Not awkward silence. Consequences silence. Grayson laughed once. Too fast. There's obviously some misunderstanding. Eleanor finally stood from her chair. No, she said quietly. There really isn't. Everybody turned toward her. And for the first time in years, Grayson looked unsure. The locked letter came out then. Grandpa's handwriting across the front. To be opened only in the event of ethical breach. Jesus Christ, old man. Even dead, he was still setting traps. The attorney read it aloud in front of everybody. Grandpa wrote about character. About stewardship. About how easily weak men confuse ownership with entitlement. Then came the line that shattered Grayson completely. The son who humiliates family to appear powerful is too emotionally small to protect what I built. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed loud. The letter transferred temporary controlling authority pending review, to me. Not because Grandpa thought I was perfect. Because apparently I was the only one who treated people decently when money wasn't involved. Funny qualification for leadership. Shouldn't be rare. The fallout happened fast after that. Investors pulled back. Audits expanded. Several property transfers got frozen under review. And Grayson? Turns out confidence evaporates quickly once applause disappears. 3 months later I moved back into the lake house temporarily while restructuring the company properly. No revenge renovations. No dramatic speeches. Just quieter rooms. Cleaner books. Better people around the table. Last week my nephew visited while I repaired the old dock behind the property. Sunset over the water. Cold air rolling in. He sat beside me eating chips and finally asked, "Why don't we eat in the garage anymore?" I looked toward the house a while before answering. Because some people finally learned the difference between success and character.